Oftentimes, when we think of the word peculiar, we think of something outside of the norm, something unexpected, something different. And in past videos, we've touched on a lot of those things, whether it be aliens, weird dreams, crazy NBA finds. All of those things seem peculiar in their own right based on just how unique they are, how simply different they are from what we would consider to be the quote-unquote norm. However, in our everyday life, oftentimes we come across things that are very normal, but they only seem normal on the surface. Once we fully get to understand what is below the surface, is when we figure out that there are some things out there that are simply peculiar, though they may seem normal on the surface. Perhaps one of the biggest peculiarities that I have found throughout my lifetime has been looking at cars and vehicles. Now, I don't know a lot about cars, but I do know that there are some that are more rare than others and some that just seem to pop up at different points in time that are followed by a cult for some reason or just seem to have a lot of fans. Needless to say, if you live in North America or, for whatever reason, in Chile, it's highly likely that you've seen one of the rarest cars ever produced in America driving alongside you on the highway. Now in your head you're already thinking, okay, this must be some sort of rare supercar, this must be something exotic, must be something with close to 10,000 horsepower and at least more than 3 cup holders. Perhaps this thing was declassified by the military and only one was ever made, but some random person owns it after winning it at an auction or once it was declassified. And you might be on track in thinking all of these things, but as I mentioned earlier, sometimes you have to think a little bit more normal, a little bit more simple, perhaps. And as you're thinking of all these ideas, somehow you would still be wrong. You see, that rare car that you have likely been seeing driving alongside you on the highway, this absolute rarity that only a few people have ever had the privilege of owning, much less knowing the full backstory, the history, the uniqueness. This car that I'm talking about, well, it's a Subaru. Now, this Subaru that I'm talking about is a little bit different from your Legacy, your Outback, even the Crosstrek. This Subaru, specifically called the Subaru Baja, only was around from the years 2003 to 2006. It had a 4-year model run. Some people claim that it was a 5-year model run due to a couple of the cars being released in 2007 when they were still sitting on the lot from the 2006 model year. So technically there might be a couple of quote-unquote 2007s out there. But for the most part, these cars were only produced for 4 years. Therefore, in that entire span, there were only 30,000 total made. Now to put that into perspective, that's crazy. Most cars will do that in a single model year. The Baja took 4 model years to make that many, let alone to sell that many. So I know what you're thinking now. This isn't that incredibly rare, but it gets much deeper and rarer. You see, when you enter the world of the Subaru Baja, it's sort of like a tailspin. It's like going down the rabbit hole. There's a lot more layers to it. To begin, the Subaru Baja came in 4 models. There was either the naturally aspirated automatic edition, the naturally aspirated manual, or later in the run, they had the more coveted turbo automatic, and by far the rarest of all, the turbo manual. Now, most car collectors or people that really chase after these ones, the ones that they're after, the super rare ones, are the turbo manuals. These came with more horsepower and a bigger engine, and of course they had a manual transmission, which at the time was much better than the automatic, could shift faster, and you could do it on your own. So as a result, That's the one that everyone wanted. What's even more interesting is that the Subaru Baja, I believe the Subaru marketing team was really trying to make a big splash there, as they have some absolutely ridiculous colors. I mean, just think about this. In 2003, their leading color, the one that they led with in order to market this vehicle, was yellow. Disgusting. Needless to say, over time, these cars have become more rare and rare as a lot of them ended up going to the Rust Belt and rusting away, or they've just been absolutely beaten by their owners. But there are a few out there still surviving, and to this day they still hold their value incredibly well, all things considered. Along with this, it's not necessarily a super rare vehicle. Subaru released the Brat a long time prior to making the Baja. The Baja is said to be somewhat of a shout out to the Brat, a tribute to it nonetheless, but at the end of the day it is its own vehicle. It's just a little bit different out there. However, in other countries outside of the States, they have other models of the Ute. They've got the Holden Ute in, I believe, Australia and a couple of other places. And Utes, by and large, are really popular in places where the F-150 and the Toyota Tundra don't dominate the market. In places where they don't have obese people to fit into those vehicles. Nonetheless, the popularity never caught on in the US, and as a result, they're super rare. Some of the competitors in this model line have included the Honda Ridgeline, which has actually done a lot better than the Subaru Baja, as it's more resembles a truck than a car in this case. And recently, Hyundai has put out the Santa Cruz, which is supposed to be somewhat of a quote-unquote competitor for the Subaru Baja, but only time will tell. And with that idea, it'll tell very quickly as we can really get into the data and see if the Santa Cruz is selling or if people hate those two. So anyway, this rare car that you've been seeing or haven't paid attention to is the Subaru Baja. And now that you've seen this video and know this, you're gonna see them all the time. The Subaru Baja is easily, without a doubt, one of the oddest and most peculiar vehicles in modern memory. It contains some of the weirdest colors, design ideas, and marketing strategies that have ever been produced by any car manufacturer in the history of car manufacturing. That being said, the Subaru Baja still has a cult following, and it continues to maintain its value long after the final run of Bajas ever exited the assembly line. Will we see another car or vehicle, caracal, a trar, like the Subaru Baja? Only time will tell. However, with the new release of the Santa Cruz, potentially the Ford Maverick, and whatever else will eventually be coming to the market, this should give us a good idea of whether or not many people are really looking to buy a seemingly small pickup that could also function as a car. With all of this being said, it's obviously one of the weirder cars and most peculiar, quirkiest. Shout out to Doug DeMiro. It's just absolutely weird, but now that we've talked about it, you're gonna start seeing them all the time. And in my eyes, I appreciate them. I think they're very unique. I enjoy the fact that they're a little bit different than most and that they've really put themselves out there to try something different. And with that, that's all we can really say about the Subaru Baja. Go find one yourself, drive it, and if you do, know that you're driving one of the rarest cars ever produced in American history. Until next time, as always, good night and good luck.